Hi everyone, this is Legacy School Year 7 History, our lesson number 19. We're going to be talking about Henry V and the Hundred Years' War. We will learn about Henry IV and Henry V. We will learn what led to the Hundred Years' War and some important battles of this war. Let's talk a little bit about this person in the picture, Henry IV. Henry IV was from the House of Lancaster, or also the House of Plantagenet. When his father died, Richard II cancelled all legal documents that would make Henry inherit his father's land. But he got it eventually. He was very unpopular and had to deal with many rebellions and assassination attempts himself after he got the throne. He died of serious health problems, possibly a skin disease, maybe leprosy. We mentioned leprosy earlier. And maybe epilepsy and some heart conditions. Epilepsy has something to do with the brain, the way it works. And the person has convulsions and seizures, although in itself is not a life-threatening condition, but it can develop, or some events can cause the death of a person. So Henry V was not a very popular king. He had quite a lot of rebellions. His barons and his lords did not like him too much because Henry IV took away titles, took away land whenever he pleased. So his son, Henry V, did everything to win the support of the barons and the rich people back. So he traveled in his country. He was a very educated king. He he was able to read and write. He changed the language of the court from French to English, which was very unusual. And with this, of course, he won support. By the time he became king, England was fighting the 100 Years' War, and it already lost quite a lot of territories. Only the town of Calais was under English supervision. We know that John I, or John Lackland, was a very weak king, so the French gradually saw an opportunity to win back those territories that are on continental Europe and were French language territories like Anjou, for example, or Normandy and Aquitaine. So gradually, during the 100 Years' War, these territories were attached to France. Most of the territories were won back by Philip II and other French kings. After him, now Henry V found an opportunity to win back some of these French territories, because France was in the middle of a civil war, and the king was a madman. This was his nickname as well. Charles VI was the madman, and because of the civil war, Henry V saw this might be his chance to get rid of the French king and take back the lost territories. His lords, his noblemen immediately supported him, and in the parliament they voted for higher taxations and supporting this campaign financially. Just a few words about Charles the Sixth. He was considered, he was called the Beloved in the beginning, but his psychological or mental illness became so overwhelming that people started calling him Charles the Madman. At one point he thought that he was Saint George. He also thought that he was made of glass and he was going to be broken. He did not recognize his children or his wife. So his condition was quite frightening. So the 100 Years' War, French wanted territories as they saw the weak king, John Lackland, as I told you earlier. Philip II was the most powerful in the beginning of the 100 Years' War. He saw the chance of winning back these French territories. But we should not imagine the 100 Years' War as fighting for 100 years. There were certain conflicts, then there was an era of peace, then more conflict started, the war started again. Then there were some more peaceful times. So on and off, war was on and off between the English and the French. The English won back after Philip II consolidated his power in France. The English won back territories in the battles of Crécy and Poitiers. Now Charles V of France regained territories. Richard II married the daughter of Charles VI, and that was a peaceful period again. But when Henry V saw a chance, as we mentioned earlier, Charles VI was mad, a mad king, and there was civil war in France. Henry attacked France again and won a very huge battle of Agincourt. He just won the Battle of Harfleur in France. A lot of men were killed or wounded in this battle. Many soldiers were sent home because they were suffering from dysentery. As you can see underneath, there is the vocabulary. Dysentery is an infection of the intestines that causes, this infection causes severe diarrhea, and it can cause death. Right, so Henry wanted to spend the winter in Calais after the Battle of Harfleur, and of course they had to face impossible circumstances, cold weather, sickness, no supplies. They were outnumbered by the French army, and the English used the bad weather as an advantage when they knew that the French were coming with 12,000 people. The English archers, the so-called longbowmen, as you can see them, one of them in this picture, they rained a storm of arrows on the French, who were stuck in the mud. The English took full advantage of the very bad rainy weather, and eventually they won the battle. More than 5,000 French soldiers were killed in this battle. So this battle has become one of the most important military victories in English history against the French. After this, Henry won more battles against Charles. You can see Charles VI, Charles the Madman in this picture. The war broke out again, and there were several victories won by the English. Eventually, the English were closing down on Paris, but before he could finally kill Charles VI, Henry V chose to sign a treaty with Charles VI. This was the so-called the Treaty of Troyes, and Henry V and Charles VI signed a treaty that Henry V will marry Charles's daughter, and he will become the King of France after Charles's death. But he died before Charles. He died of dysentery, so he did not become the King of France. After that, Charles VI died just a month after Henry V, and when Charles VII got the throne, he disregarded the treaty, of course, and he renewed the fighting. Eventually, the 100 Years' War ended with the French victory, and the English lost all their territories in France and continental land, except for the port town of Calais. All right, so your homework, please answer the questions on page 49. Thank you.